Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. What's up, everybody?
What's happening, yo?
So it helps if I have my microphone. What's up, yo?
Hello.
Actually, it helps it.
What we say, Justin? Man, John looked great, Justin.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, man, that was a tough class. It's only a very, very small class, but everyone was good.
I think that's the best super heavyweight class I've seen at a local show.
Oh man, I can't think of another one. I mean, I've seen like junior USAs that weren't as good.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. That was a hell of a lineup. I know Aaron was there. I mean, yeah, John definitely deserved it. He looked good, man. That's the best condition I think he's ever been in.
Yeah. He's a decent amount harder. I was a little nervous, because we didn't peak for that at all. And then he sent me some pictures backstage, because I knew Aaron was going to be there, and I had Cole. Cole took second to Sam Sulek in Classic, but Cole was in the Supers also. Cole Albersworth. And so I knew he was in shape. And so, I thought Aaron would be there. I thought, okay, we just got to get top two, qualify. But then he started sending me the pictures of all these other guys. I was like, good Lord, this is a tough class. I hope we pull
big dudes. Yeah, big dudes.
With
big, and they were all tall, too, which was pretty cool.
It was a big class. Yeah, because Cole looked probably undersized, and he was over 240. 240, and he, was striated glutes. He was in shape at 240, so...
I think this is a picture. I was going to ask you, Justin, with peaking, like, I mean, what is your strat when you get shows that close together? You just pick one to peak for?
Well, if it's back-to-back weeks, you kind of have to. I mean, you can peak for both. You just can't do much hard water manipulation for the first, or you're going to be rebounding. But if it's 2 weeks, we didn't do much for him. But if it's 2 weeks, you can really peak fully both times. You can see his legs needed to be drier. But the second peak, you just have to dry. Your body doesn't respond as crisp to the dry out the second peak. But I mean, we didn't really do much for water this time. So
his delts are ridiculous.
Yeah. So his clavicles are so wide, it's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, he looked great. He should do you never know who shows up, but
I don't know. I mean, it's essentially going to be the same class. Plus, I think Ben Chow has a good guy. I've heard, so it's going to be a good Arnold.
Last year when we were there, it wasn't that great.
It's hit or miss. 1 year you'll have a guy from like Romania or something that's just it looks like he's ready to compete on a pro stage, and then the next year it'll look like an amateur show. It's so hit or miss.
Yeah, I don't think that's one that people think of for national qualifiers. Like, guys prepare for the big ones, like North Americans and USAs and nationals. Those are the ones that people usually hit.
Yeah, it's so spread out. I mean, the nationals and USAs are kind of still the big ones, but North Americans, for years, it was kind of lagging behind, but it's really not anymore. What I think has really changed is the big shows are still the big shows, but you have much more where a guy, like a dominant guy ready to really turn pro, will just pick a weird show like that. Like they're not worried about turning pro because you're not real. It's just so different. You're kind of relying on your own promotion and hype. But you used to need to win the North Americans, USAs, or nationals to get any hype on in the Weider mags. I mean, that was kind of all there was. There was the universe and stuff, but without the magazines being the only promoter, it doesn't really matter as much. For years, it was like Dexter Jackson turned pro at North Americans, and there weren't many other big pros. It was always USAs or nationals. Then, in the 2000s, North Americans came along and really is on par. Now, Masters nationals, because Masters guys are just as good as the 40 plus Masters is an open class anymore. It's really not a drop off at all. So you got another one there.
Yeah, last year when I was at North Americans, I don't know how accurate this is, but they said that there were 1,400 competitors.
I believe it. The
show.
shows are
there were
so
1,000
huge.
in mine.
I remember when the USA's or it must have been Nationals had 400 competitors. I think it was like the first year they had figure, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is absurd! Shows are going to last forever. No one's going to compete anymore." It's like it'll long for the days of 400 competitors.
They spread Masters Nationals. That's across 3 days. Same thing with North Americans.
Yeah, that's getting hard as a coach too now because with the UK, Australia doing Sunday shows. And then, we're doing shows basically, Thursday through Saturday now, but sometimes even Wednesday. And so all during contest season, you could be peaking, Wednesday through Sunday on any given week.
Yeah, that's a lot. I'm going to go out for North Americans and for Masters Nationals this year. I got multiple guys in both shows.
I'll be at the Arnold booth 1949 or 1944 if anyone gets bored with Chase's booth.
I don't even know what our booth is. What is it, Chase?
It's 1922.
You guys are like one. Not that I don't think you're across the aisle. I think you're a whole aisle over, but kind of in that.
Yeah,
area.
we're on the outside, right across from the powerlifting thing. Like if you go in and you go left, and you go all the way around to the outside over where the powerlifting is. We're over there.
Yeah, so. we're like one row over to the right from you guys or something like that.
Is Brandon going to be at your booth, or are you keeping him in the hotel room with his feet up?
Feet up. I mean, he's with SciTech, and it's technically a Troponin Supplements booth, not a Troponin Nutrition booth. And I think he would stop by, and if he's in the expo, I'm going to ask him to. But I'm not going to I'm not going to try to get him at any stress with his sponsor or anything. We will have Bumblebee though, Friday and Saturday, handing out samples. When I was a kid, I always wanted Transformers, but we were poor, and so we had to get GoBots. The trailer park Transformers.
I remember those, man. We got them.
I remember them too. Because I got made fun of for having them. But last time, the joke's on them because I got a 9-foot-tall Bumblebee toy.
Look at you now.
Would you say that's where your obsession with transformations began, Justin?
Probably, yeah. I'll show these guys. I'm going to become a Mustang.
It's funny how shit from being poor when your kid sticks with you, man.
I know.
My dad would not buy me video games, and now I buy video games that I never play all the time just because I want to buy them.
Yeah, I do. I like stockpile.
You make your kids
things,
want for a lot.
Almost like a mini hoarder, just if it's something I like.
Legos, all the expensive shit we couldn't afford when I was a kid. I wear Nikes now, not the Hikes that my dad would get me.
Yeah. Mike's, Adidas.
He would get me the ones with. I remember having an argument with my dad. I think it was in 8th grade because my feet just grew crazy. I wore size 15s when I was in 8th grade.
Jesus.
And my my dad was so mad at me getting new shoes. He's like, I can't afford to buy you new shoes every other month. And I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do, man? You can wear flip-flops if you want.
But I remember
I had this huge battle. He went out and bought me these. I just remember these lime green Avias. You remember Avias?
Oh, I remember Avias. They were almost
with the Velcro.
Arios.
With the Velcro on it. And I'm like, I am not wearing a Velcro shoe, bro. That is not happening. And my dad was just screaming at me.
Oh, yeah. Because the Kangaroos had some Velcros for a little bit. I think that put them out of business even. No one wanted the Velcro.
I mean, no offense, Velcro is effective and simple and easy. But if you're wearing Velcro shoes in school, you weren't going to the same classrooms as the rest of us. Let's just be frank here.
You want the absolute bottom of the poor shoe barrel was when the Reebok pumps came out. Spalding came out with a Spalding pump that was also Velcro. It was just the worst of the worst. They just shut it all down.
I told my dad. I was already on the short end of the stick at school, man. I was on the chess team. I played D&D at lunch with my friends. Wearing the Velcro Avias was just the icing on the cake,
the bridge too far.
They're making a comeback. Those Avias, I see them all over the place. People are wearing them.
Oh
yeah.
He got the Velcros.
Hey, you know what's funny is I still rock the Velcro. I got all the Reebok pumps still. I got sorts of Ewings that got Velcro straps, and As long as I like them, I don't care what anyone says.
Velcro takes on a whole different meaning now. If I don't have to bend down, if I can just flip my Velcro over with my other foot.
I have perfected the art of wearing shoes with shoestrings and never untying them. I can slip them on my feet like a ninja.
Yeah, but Colin's the actual original ninja of slipping on shoes.
We used to be able to find shoes where the tongue was attached, like a lot more. It seems like you don't see them as much anymore, but where the tongue kind of had like a elastic attached around the sides.
Yeah,
then you could just take the laces right out.
Right.
Dave has one of the most impressive shoe collections I've ever seen, and they are clean and crisp. I'm like, damn.
That's what I don't understand. How you? Because I get a new pair of shoes, and it's like you feeling good. They're so clean and crisp, but I don't even leave the house, and somehow they're scuffed up.
Yeah,
I don't know how to keep them sharp.
You got work boots for work, and then shoes for every other time. So basically, the gym. That's about it. My whole life. The gym and the grocery store.
Yeah. What does the say? We want cycle nutrition and weight updates from the gents here before the non-bodybuilding podcast. Hey, we just wing it. We talked a little bit about bodybuilding at the beginning. I get off topic, sorry. And Josh was asking me when am I streaming Space Marines. I gave up on it. I just do not have the fast twitch reflexes to play shooters anymore. My son told me I was a liability.
You're not bad at Path of Exile, though.
I've been playing the shit out of
that game's
Path
fun.
of Exile.
That game's fun, yeah. I played a little bit of that.
May or may not have been up until 3 a.m. last night. Path of Exile.
I've not played it that much. I've not played it that much.
Oh my god, I'm like, look, there's so much math in it, and I love the math. Like I'm sitting here like making spreadsheets on how to spec out my gear and shit, and like saving up currency and doing currency exchange. It's so nerdy.
Yeah,
it's fun though.
You're a definite nerd. Making spreadsheets of his video games.
Josh said, have you tried it on Methylene Blue? I have, in fact, tried it on Methylene Blue.
That's why it was up till 3.
I have mixed feelings about Methylene Blue. I don't know if you guys have tried it. I used it 3 days in a row last week, and then, like, holy shit, it is literally like taking methamphetamines. I was so amped up, and then I stopped, and I had, like, this huge crash. The day or two after, I just felt awful.
That's like serotonin syndrome. Like I think that can definitely happen with those substances for sure.
My mood was bad.
How much were you using?
I don't know. 1 drop, whatever that is.
1 drop. I don't know. I don't know.
That's the only part of the liquid solutions. You got to make sure they're completely shaken up. You know, you don't want to take like a strong part of the bottom of the bottle. You know what I mean? You got to be careful.
I'm a bodybuilder, Chase. We just fill it up and take it, man. We don't
slam it back.
I use the pills, so I take 10 milligrams in the morning. So
yeah, same.
Yeah, 10 is what I've heard is the good doses. I got the liquid. Maybe I should.
I used the liquid too, like before I got the pills, and I thought it was very similar. You just have to dose it right.
And that stuff tastes like dog shit.
Yeah, you definitely like I would, when I was using the liquid drops, I'd put it in water, and I would add Chris Tuttle's Drink More product to it, and that made it tolerable. But I mean, you put a straw in it and you suck it down super fast and get on with your life.
Oh, I just put it in my coffee. Coffee's already bitter anyway.
Ew, you put in your coffee? I don't know about that.
Fuck it, just put it in my coffee.
Doing his check-ins, grinding to see.
Dude, I was like, I got more done. I got more done in like the day than I did the whole week before. I was like, holy shit, this stuff is crazy.
It was like my first time that I took it. I took 10 milligrams, and I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then I took 15, and the best way that I could describe it is like if you had your face out the car window and the air is blowing in your face, and you're just like getting all this oxygen, and you're just like, oh my god, I feel great.
So when you can see whites over someone's People.
It was too much. It was too much, though. I felt like 15. I felt like I was just like, oh my god, this is
Big John should come
uncomfortable.
on here too. We should get him on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
John's
so-
funny.
Arnold takeover soon. Let's
Hey,
fucking go.
did you see? Did you see there was a video of RFK Jr. taking methylene blue? He was using the whole. He like had the whole dropper, and he was just
he
squirting the
was
whole
just
fucking thing.
streaming it in.
Well, if you look at some of like the research on it, some people take up to 50 milligrams at a time. Like that's some of the research dosages. I was just like, holy crap, that's a ton.
I did not. I don't know if I want to take it again. To be honest with you, man, I did not feel right for a couple days afterwards.
I'm curious how much you actually used, though.
One
Amy's-
drop, man.
He said,
I
"I
can
take
get
it,
more
right?"
accurate than that.
one dropper?
No, drop. Oh, here's
One
Steve.
drop? That makes no sense. I don't understand that.
What's up, Steve?
What's up, guys?
What's up,
You-
Steve?
What's up, guys?
We were just talking methylene blue, man. I tried it out. Holy shit, man. That stuff. I don't know. That shit's legal.
It's pretty rough. How much milligrams did you take?
I have no idea. Whatever one drop is.
Say one drop. I'm like,
One drop?
I don't understand.
How many?
stayed up.
How much is that in milligrams again, Paul? I can't remember. What's the
The
conversion?
dropper. Well, like,
Drops in
when
milligrams?
I was using a dropper, it was like 10 drops is I think 10 drops was 10 milligrams. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Or
it's
10
usually-
drops was 5 milligrams or something like that.
Yeah, it's usually point. I mean, in a typical dropper, it's like point, depending on obviously the solution, but it's usually 0.5 per drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes
I
sense.
So 5 to 10 milligrams seems to be the most effective dose. I just finished a deep dive on it. I read a fuckload of studies. So they will drop next week, hopefully, or the week after. So yeah, it seems that the dose is the poison dose. All the side effects are observed at higher dosages. But if you keep the dose moderate, 5 to 10 milligrams, then it seems to be a very beneficial compound. But there's nothing on anti-aging or longevity or most of the benefits that we use it for. Very little scientific evidence on nootropic benefits. It's all at higher dosages.
I tell you what, I got more work done in a day than I ever had, and I still played like 3 hours of video games.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's an amazing compound. I take it every day.
Awesome.
I always wondered, like Paul, you know how Amy's right though. Like you got to be careful you don't mix them with like SSRIs or other serotonin kind of drugs. But I wonder if like GLP-1s that have a reaction to your dopaminergic system or serotonin system, if adding methylene blue can give you serotonin syndrome as well.
I definitely had a crash afterwards, or maybe I was just in shit mood. I don't know. I just didn't feel right.
Take some
for a couple days
Lexapro and eat a
afterwards.
bunch of cheese.
That was that was the filet of fish you were eating. That was.
Sigmund Freud was an anthropomorphic rat. That would be his advice.
Somebody said, didn't Paul say he bought his methylene blue on Amazon? Maybe that's the issue. That is true. I
Yeah.
did buy it on Amazon.
That's where I used where I got the liquid drops from when I
That's
was
what
using those.
Amazon,
The
the Amazon
pills
stuff
now.
drives me crazy. It's so hard to get approved for Amazon. Trying to get our supplements on there, they're like, this product's banned. I'm like, there's 36 pages of that product on Amazon right now. What did they do?
Yeah.
Tell me how they lied, because that's what I want to do.
And a lot of the methylene blue on Amazon is actually very impure with heavy metal poison, like arsenic and other stuff. So you got to be careful.
It said on the bottle formaldehyde and arsenic free.
Okay, you got it.
I probably bought the same bottle that
Guarantee
Paul
right
got.
on the bottle.
It's the one you use to color your aquarium, right? That's what it's also used for. It's an aquarium antimicrobial.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I feel
goodness!
like Kurt
What
would
could go
like-
wrong?
Kurt would like methylene blue, where you're always doing a million things at once. Like you'd be able to focus better.
I did laugh. I
No,
made a video on statins this week.
Crack
and
wears
I-
off pretty quick. You need something to eat, level it
That's true.
out.
Yeah.
I did a
High
video on
quality cocaine over crack any day.
yeah,
Oh, God,
coke, yeah,
Yes.
all day.
Yeah, good.
Demonetization. Here we come. That was satire.
It's not medical advice.
That is not medical advice.
Not
Oh.
advice.
I'll tell you, I do love the way it makes me feel for my cardio. Getting a good session in the morning after some methylene blue, it just helps me zone out and get that like actual enjoyment out of my cardio. Which I know to Paul sounds crazy getting enjoyment out of cardio, but it's just that mental
wonderful.
It
relief.
sound crazy.
What's that, Steve?
It is crazy.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful compound. Like after reviewing maybe 200 studies on it.
Like gasoline in the basement.
Yeah, that's true. But I think it's a wonderful compound that this was very overlooked in the bodybuilding space, and everybody that is running it is raving about it. When you stack it with SLU and Mod C, you get that killer combo. Dean was onto something when he put that together. But yeah, there's a risk for serotonin syndrome and that kind of stuff. So, but I've combined it with fluvoxamine, and so far I'm still alive. So.
Oh, there's John. There's the man. And that is what you call prep phase.
Look at them. Look at them
Oh,
delts.
man.
Holy shit.
Holy shit.
John's delts are out of control. What's up, man?
What's up?
What's up, you guys? Oh yeah, dude. Somebody every time one of my photos gets posted, it's like, man, that guy in the middle has some crazy SEOs in his shoulders. Do not.
Nah, that's just trend.
Drill, baby, drill. We're gonna.
Yeah, actually, I try to avoid shoulder pinning for like the last like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll do like rear delts, but I get like a deep tissue massage stuff. I just don't want any pointy stuff going. But
Yeah.
There was a guy at North Americans last year when I was backstage. I swear his delts look like a Lego block. I'm like, what the fuck is going on there?
Well, it's crazy. And then they'll get on stage and it's not that noticeable.
No, he looked okay on stage.
Years ago, when you'd see him backstage, it looked like he had golf balls stuck in his ass. He'd walking around, they just flop around. But then he'd get on stage, and I don't know how. I guess the stage kind of doesn't show definition that good, but
Rear delts is the new glutes, right?
yeah. Heck yeah. Because people always said, "Oh, it don't grow anything." Then how come everyone's glutes aren't big? I always say, look at Ronnie's upper outer glutes. He's walking around with 2 basketballs back there.
It's a fucking
Switch
shelf.
had horns. They were huge.
You can serve drinks in that shelf.
Dave could give him a run for his money.
Yeah.
I got white man ass, man. I got white boy syndrome when it comes to my butt.
Driving a trailer.
Put some SEO in there.
Hey, John, what you got to do is get a tattoo so it looks like a pumpkin got carved in your shoulder.
Like a jack-o'-lantern. That'd be so awesome.
Yeah, like a jack-o'-lantern. Yeah.
That is
I have my family crest is on this one, but I'm actually I'm in the process of I'm about maybe 3/4 of the way done of getting the arm part removed. And if you ever get a tattoo removed, it's like 10 times worse than getting a tattoo.
I've heard it's painful.
So painful.
Why are you getting it removed?
I just didn't like the way it looked on my, like, the shoulder's fine, but the arm part, I used to have really like grainy looking triceps on that side, and it just completely takes it away. So I was like, I had my half sleeve and stuff. I'm over it.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like my one side of my arm's just like you can't see the detail, even though it's there. Like I can see it. So I got the other side clean. Yeah. I get that.
That's awesome.
I don't have anything against
Star
tattoos,
delts.
but I never want
I love
one.
that.
Yeah, Death Star delts.
That's awesome.
I learned when I became a massage therapist, I realized that like I was maybe one of the only people on earth who didn't have a tattoo. I have seen tattoos on people you would never expect them on, and like some of the craziest work. Like there was a guy who came in that had like maybe the most visually stunning tattoo I've ever seen. It was on his like the front of his quad, and it was a skull with a cross coming through it, like the cross coming like out of it. And like it was weird, but the quality of that tattoo, and like he was super jacked, so it was like I've never commented on a person's tattoo that I was working on, but like I did, like after the session was over, I said like I've got to tell you, man, like that tattoo was like insane.
Did it have some like with a really good artist? It's really impressive.
Yeah.
The tattoo done in prison with the needle, it can look pretty rough.
Effective though.
That is one thing.
Still tells a story.
That is one thing you do not go cheap on is a tattoo.
Yeah,
I've seen some bad tattoos.
A group on your tattoo.
Yeah. I just like small needles.
I just have a
I only
dream
take one
tattoo on
half
my
inch
ankle.
upwards.
My grandfather was in the Navy. He was a career Navy guy, and it was hilarious when I was a kid. I remember this. He had a hula girl dance on his forearm, and he would take his forearm and go like this. He had giant forearms. He's making her belly dance. I'm like, that's a classy Navy tattoo.
Yeah.
I think he got it in Thailand, actually.
That's awesome.
Wouldn't surprise me, man. There's some butt shops over here. I'm in patio right now, so we've been driving around the whole day to restaurants and see some characters over here with the worst tattoos known to man.
You out there partying, Steve?
Oh yeah, yeah. They walk around with lady boys. They have no clue. It's hilarious.
Getting the last hurrah in before the baby comes.
Yeah, well, not me with those guys. Yeah. But I'm getting my last holiday, and so yeah, I'm in a nice.
Yeah, it looks pretty sweet digs, man.
Yeah, this is one of the rooms. It's mad pricey, but the last holidays we can get away with, so might as well do it.
I definitely want to make a trip to Thailand. I'd like to do that in Japan.
Do it. Stop over in Japan. I've been telling you for years to get those kids out the door, or you just leave them $1,000, and you're like, "I'm going to go out to get some cigarettes," and they disappear for 2 weeks.
They're pretty much adults now. Anyway, my daughter's going to be 18 soon.
Yeah, your son is what, 14, 15?
He'll be 15 here in a couple months.
Yeah, so as long as she's got a little bit of a budget on Uber Eats, then you'll be okay.
That's how I feed my kids is Uber Eats. I just don't have time, man. I look at it like you know how it is, Steve. Like, you do the math on how much you make per hour. I could go downstairs and cook food for them, or I could order Uber Eats. It's cheaper for me to order Uber Eats than to lose.
That's what I always think. If I spent that time working, I'll make way more money. So I order the Uber Eats and then I go to work.
So, or you do what I do. You hire the mom of your wife. She cooks for you. So I got her on. She comes like over 3 times a week. She just makes all my food.
Incredible.
Josh brought this up. Somebody I know, I can't remember who it was, hired a private chef, and it wasn't that expensive.
No, it's not that expensive.
They're just hard to find, is what I've found. We looked into it. I live in Richland, Michigan, so there's just no people, period. But we couldn't find anyone.
But aren't you like in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I cut myself off halfway through. There's only 8 people in town. The likelihood that one of them's a private chef is pretty low.
Yeah, with a private chef, it's a 1 hour back and forth trip.
I hope you like grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Can you get lean on grilled cheese?
Grilled cheese, ham sandwiches.
Yeah, I was talking. It was one of the interviews. I can't remember who it was, but the guy was talking about how it was like, a couple hours. It was like $100 to have a private chef come in and do all his meal prep for the week. And I'm like, fuck, that's probably cheaper than Uber Eats or meal prep services.
I'll volunteer for that job. I can feed kids and I can feed bodybuilders.
Oh yeah.
All right, I might have a job for you.
Yeah, too bad you're not
Fly me
in
in.
DC.
You know what that's the best for? Is like if you have a party, you just hire a chef and you just get the food and let them take over the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jackie's cousin does that for their parties, and it's just awesome.
Groceries are so damn expensive here now. I don't know if it's really any cheaper making your own stuff anymore.
Mm.
Yeah.
Justin, forgive me if you guys already talked about this, but Justin, I want to ask really quick because we haven't spoken a ton this week. But how's Brandon doing, and how's he looking? He looks insane, and I'm really glad that people are giving him the respect, as a Mr. Olympia and stuff. And how's he feeling and stuff going into this week?
Where you live, Tom? I don't think he feels very good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's. I hope he does really well. Because he got a lot of flack for not going overseas, but he wanted to be with his family. And I think they're almost probably going to be looking to see is there any evidence that he wasn't at Oxygen Gym. But I think he looks good. I mean, he's in shape. His glutes are in, lower back's in. I'm actually going to send him the rough outline for his peak today. So he sent pics this morning, and I'll kind of get that going. He'll send him again tomorrow. We'll refine it a little further, and then we'll, refine as we go. But he's looking good. I think I don't know what he usually weighs. I never ask. I try not to focus on that, but he's over 250 completely depleted. Which he might be over 260 on stage. I don't know what he usually weighs, but I feel like that's pretty big, and I think his conditioning's pretty good. I know it is because every time he posts pics, people tell him he looks small and flat. So
That's right.
That's when you're going to look good on stage.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So who do you
Yeah,
guys
it
have
was-
in your top 5?
Who goes first?
Samson. I'll take the easy one.
Samson.
Yeah, I think Samson, Derek, and then I think Brandon can go all the way up to 3rd.
Yeah, I hope Brandon makes top 4. I think he
Yeah.
definitely can with the way he's looking. It's a good show. I like that the Olympia guys are doing it again.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I mean, I don't
I'm
like
go-
it because I got a guy doing the show, but other than that, I like that the Olympia guys are doing it again.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Hollington is
call-
looking good also.
I'm going to call Derek. I think he might come back in. We'll see.
I feel like
Samson's-
he's never been 100%. I guess maybe one time he was pretty close, but he's always, you know, but when he was making 212, he'd be flat. He couldn't fill back out. There's always just something, just like you can tell he's not quite 100%. I think the year before last, he was pretty darn close, but I would love to see him just dead on peak, full, dry, hard.
Yeah, too. When he won the Mr. Olympia, it was almost perfect.
Yeah.
And last year was
he
a
looked
little bit flat.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah. But now it looks like his legs filled out a lot, or he didn't lose his legs, because usually in the off season they're stacked.
That's the thing. In the offseason, his legs are enormous. And then I don't know what they just flatten out first on him or what, but that's kind of
Yeah.
always what it's been.
Some guys seem to lose their legs from cardio. I definitely, my legs melt when I do
Yeah,
a
same
ton of
here.
cardio.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you think, you know, you only burn muscle glycogen from the muscle being worked, you know, and so if you're doing cardio, your legs are always burning glycogen. And if you're someone who flattens out hard, especially in your legs, and you're doing, you know, they can't recover from it. It's not like, you know, one day of high carbs isn't going to replace them, especially when you're back on the treadmill the next morning.
Yeah, if I do stairs, I'm screwed. Last year I just walked and I held onto my legs a lot better. I just walked the fat off.
That's why I don't let my guys after training, if they're going to do like on prep, if they're going to do any cardio on their leg day, I have to have it before training, just because, you know, they get all that blood pumped, all that nutrients that we just spent all day eating, pump them in the legs. The last thing I want them to do is just walk it off and pump the blood back to their heart, you know, on prep. And you do that week after week, time after time, I start to see their legs kind of flatten out, never come back. You know what I mean? Or at least that's one method I like.
Yeah, I try to reduce cardio at the very end for that reason. You know, I try not to change too much. You know, like anything you change is, you know, it can make you better, but it can also make you worse. But that seems like a pretty safe one. As soon as we think someone's ready, start pulling back. And the thing is too, like, you can pull back. People are usually in such a deep deficit. You know, by 4 weeks out, you can add some carbs and reduce cardio, and they'll still be in a deficit and continue getting leaner. They're just not going to be, you know, so depleted.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't overdo it with the diuretics. I mean, that's what Chris Cito is known for.
Yeah.
Like going pretty hard on the diuretics, and then it'll flatten out as well. So, you know, if they can keep it modest. I mean, he's in great shape based on the videos, the pictures that he posted. So I don't think he needs that much. But if you can bring that super full look, and again, if Samson is not 100% conditioned compared to Derek, then he should be able to get away with minimal diuretic use or no diuretic use and just walk in blasting full.
Yeah, and he's so full when he's full. I wish he really pushed that more.
Yeah. His back is ridiculous.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's insane. His lats just flop over.
Yeah.
It does look like Samson brought up his back from the pictures I've seen of him.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he's still new. He's still new to the sport. That's what's wild. He hasn't been around that long. He's still improving pretty quickly.
Him and Samson, or what is it? The other black guy?
Andrew?
Andrew, yeah. They're like 10 years in.
Yeah. Oh, man, yeah. Andrew. And if you, I hope, I don't know if it's just his structure or posing, he doesn't show, but if you see him walking around, it's like what Paul Dillette used to be. You see him just standing there, and he is inhuman.
Yeah, both of them.
I got one quick question for you, Justin, about talking about being full and flat on stage. I've heard that you'd like to push the food pretty hard the day of the show and the day before the show. You know,
2 days out.
Yeah, I mean,
I really don't. I don't think that's kind of, I mean, it's always different, but if I had to do like a general approach, it's 2 days of high carbs at 3 and 2 days out. Then the day before the show, I keep food pretty high, but I pull carbs back and then replace those calories with fats. So it's kind of like a drier calorie, but it's really more to hold fullness while we dry out. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think because the worst thing you can do, you see all the time, the guys full the day before show, then they pull back too much because you're drying out. You're gonna flatten out no matter what a little bit. You know, And so if you pull calories back while you're doing it, you can, it can snowball on you.
Yeah, especially if your metabolism has been boosted from the carb loading the days before.
Mm-hmm.
Do you keep any growth hormone in, or do you cycle that out and then reintroduce it? Or
I've tried everything for a long time. I'd cut it, 2 weeks, 10 weeks, and then keep it straight in. Right now, what I've kind of settled on is the last GH injection at 4 days out. That seems to be close enough where that whatever fullness you start losing is just kind of starting to dip off by show day, but it's enough to kind of not have to worry about the water from it. And I've thought about like reloading it the day before, but every time I've thought about it, it's with someone where it's like, I like how we look. I don't want to risk it, and I'll ask them if you want to risk it. And it, no, I don't want to be a guinea pig. It does work.
I did it a lot for my clients at the World Championships. So you cut them 2 weeks off from the growth hormone. Most of those guys had to make weight and 70 kilos, 80 kilos, 90 kilos, and that kind of stuff. So they make weight, and then with the carb loading, you reintroduce the growth hormone. And then
I shouldn't say that. I have done that when someone's got to make weight, especially if the early weigh-ins aren't that early. I've done that, but maybe once or twice. But
yeah, I used to do it all the time. 12 IUs, 18 IUs.
Nice.
Chase Aaron style.
I think John Meadows did that, right? I mean, John Meadows really blasts the growth hormone quite a bit.
Yeah, Andrew is one of his disciples also. Andrew Barry, 36 IUs or something the day before, and that's how he got his pro card.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, it's a different look. It makes you look very athletic. All the feels like in all the little areas that are otherwise flat. So it gives you a little bit of that track and field look. Allegedly, I did this with my wife many times when she was competing. Drug tested shows, guys.
Yeah.
Allegedly. And then she would, allegedly look like a track and field athlete on the day of the show. So it's been.
So we can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, no, 7 years.
Allegedly.
Didn't John also like Anadrol the day of the show too?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Who doesn't?
I've never tried it. I kept it so I did the well, Kurt helped me a little bit with the PEDs going into the show last year, but we kind of did the AJ thing with the 200 milligrams of Winstrol the last 10 days. That worked really well.
Diced. You were fucking diced, dude. What the fuck?
Well, I feel Winstrol's more like consistent than Anadrol. Some people react totally different to Anadrol, in general.
You got to practice it. And then there's the difference between the injectable version and the oral version. And the injectable version is a little bit cleaner from the look perspective.
My joints felt like porcelain, though.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
For like a month afterwards, it was awful, man. It was pretty bad, but gotta look. I was definitely holding some water the day before the show, though. It was. I
was a little worried, because you were backstage all day, walking around, helping athletes.
Yeah, I had 2 guys. It was not ideal. I'll never do that again. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to compete this year. I got to get my shoulder fixed, so I think that's out of the picture. I had my MRI done this past week. So I find out on Tuesday what the final prognosis is, but it's either shoulder replacement or clean it up. So it's one of the two. He told me it was like almost bone on bone at this point.
We'll get you a robot arm soon. Get you a new.
It's to the point now where I can only train like 70% on my upper body. I can't go like 100% on anything pressing.
I know.
At this point.
It's gotta hurt. You don't hear Paul complain about pain except like once a decade. Like he doesn't.
Unless
complain.
I have a cold, then I complain.
Yeah, then he's a little bitch. But no, like actual massive physical pain that would lie at a normal human being low, he shrugs that off. So if he says he's in pain, I believe him.
Yeah.
When I went in, they did the X-ray last week, and he's like, "Are you using any painkillers to lift me?" And I'm like, "No."
Would you like some?
And he just looked at me and he's like, "This doesn't hurt." And I'm like, "Yeah, it hurts." And he's like, "You're still. That's why I'm here." Yeah. He's like, "You're still lifting weights." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still lifting weights." Yeah, there's a bone spur in there. He said it's like pretty much bone on bone. Almost bone on bone. And then they think my bicep tendon's frayed and my labrum's torn too. So
Oh, no.
all fucked up.
Well, you're probably making the right choice because it's only going to get worse from there. It sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I'll find out and I'll make a decision. He told me like the 3 options he presented were none of them sounded appealing. He was like, I can't give you cortisone shots because the bicep tendon is at risk of rupture, so that's out. And he said you can just ride it out until you need a full blown shoulder replacement, which will be in the next year or two. He said, or you could go ahead and just do the shoulder replacement now, or we can try to clean it up and buy you a couple more years before a shoulder replacement.
I think what you should do is just contact one of those stem cell clinics in South America, like Medellin or Tijuana, and show that you have a decent YouTube following, and then you get the influencer discount. And all you have to do is make a couple of videos while you're there.
Yeah,
it saves you a lot of money.
Discount because the stem cells get expensive.
Yeah,
I looked at it. It's about 20 grand.
Yeah, it was 27. The one I looked at.
Wow.
yeah, but you can get it for half if you do good promotion for them.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I know the one like all the NFL guys use. I won't say names on here, but we know the one in Colombia.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's where all the pro athletes go.
So you can
That's
just reach
cool.
out and ask.
Cole took
you know,
second to Sam Sulek, the Dr. Gator
Cool.
C.
Cole's a good
Awesome,
guy, man.
Stem cells ain't going to do anything for the bone spur, though, right?
Well, the doctor, when I mentioned stem cells, of course he's a surgeon. He just kind of rolled his eyes when I said stem cells.
Yeah.
He was like, "That's not going to fix this problem."
I mean, need surgery and stem cells.
Yeah, possibly. He was like, "This is beyond stem
Time to
cells."
cash in that Tesla stock, man.
It's at a good place right now.
Yeah,
We want to grab
You
a
know-
few questions.
sure.
Or go
I
ahead,
was
what
going to
were
say
you
really quick. I was just at this show Sam did, and we were using it for the qualifier, and it turned. We get there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, Sam Sulek's doing a show, and it just turned into this craziness. I'm like, is this like a regional show or is this like a national show? And I'm like looking in the crowd and stuff. I'm like, this is bigger than like USA's stuff like that.
I'm sure.
It was absolutely crazy. I will say though, spoke with Sam a lot. I'm not a huge YouTube guy. I'm not I don't follow a lot of people. I probably just watch 90s Battle for the Olympia stuff, and that's probably it. But that being said, I was sort of talking to Sam looking for some sort of arrogance or narcissism or something like that, and there was nothing.
Super
he
nice.
was-
Yeah.
Seems like
Yeah.
a good kid. Seems
Yeah,
like a
at the
really
Detroit
good kid.
Pro when Hostel had him, he stood there for it had to be like 9 hours. I never saw the guy leave to take a piss even. There's a line around the building. He talked to every single person.
just
Good
a good guy, man. Yeah.
Isn't
You
he
love
an
to hear it. It's
engineering
very rare.
major in college, I think. He's an engineer, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
me and
seems like a
Chase met
smart
him at me and Chase. Remember, we met him at the Mr. Olympic Expo or press conference.
I tried to sell him my gold pass.
I would have been
Yeah,
surprised.
my silver pass because I was getting gold from you, Steve. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's super nice to talk to the guy. So, yeah, he didn't know who we were. So I was like, okay, maybe you should, because then he gets a better PED education. Who's he working with? Is he doing it all alone?
I think he's doing himself. You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
see on
himself.
stage, he was so flat.
Because
Yeah.
we were
He's in
tanning.
shape, though.
We were tanning, and of course we're all butt naked, and I could see the dude, and he was peeled. I mean, he was mega depleted, but he was peeled, a little bit bigger upper body than lower body, but he was still put together pretty well. But then I was like, okay, in my mind, I'm like, okay, it shouldn't be hard to make this look good tomorrow, but it looks like he didn't quite peak the best way, whether it was lack of knowledge or something, I'm not quite sure, but people were saying, oh, he's like, no, he was peeled when we were tanning and stuff like that. I just don't think he nailed it for his
Yeah, you
team.
could tell his body fat was low.
I mean,
He had to make weight at 217, I think.
Yeah, he was
For
216. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's like
and
6, right? He's like 6 foot. Because I'm
something
like 5'11", so he's like 6 foot, I think.
Yeah, first show, man, you look great.
Yeah, for a first show, he looked
Oh, yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought he looked.
Yeah, I mean, he won the
amazing for a first
overall.
show.
Yeah,
You know, had a tough show.
Justin, what would your advice be if you were, you just weigh in, you just make weight, and you're that depleted? How are you going to try to at least shine that up a little bit?
Well, it's different for everyone. I mean, I would have to know what he's like. What I think his metabolism is like is probably would need to eat a lot. I mean, I had a guy that turned pro in Classic in 2020 who was kind of like that, and made weight. And we stayed up through the night eating. He just I think we did every 2.5 or 3 hours just straight through the night, and it was very similar. He was shredded and he didn't look that good when he made weight because he was so flat. But he came on stage and he won overall. So.
I mean, you're not sleeping the night before show anyway. Might as well stay up and eat.
He would probably be super nervous, with a guy with that caliber with a social media following. Seems to be pretty chill about it, but still, the nerves can get to you.
Oh yeah, I mean, he had nothing to gain by competing, really. Only things to lose.
Yeah, you could tell he was a little trying to figure it out. He was trying to.
Yeah.
He was like, a little bit, but.
Hey, well, you look at Nick Walker's first show pictures.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, Sam didn't do too bad for his first show, so I think he has a bright future. He just needs to dial it in with a couple shows and otherwise hire a prep coach. Justin is still available.
I'm gonna poach him at the Arnold.
Yeah, exactly. Just pull the George Farrell trick, right after prejudging.
Yeah, I'll just stand, especially if he wins. I'll just stand next to him in the winner's circle and start talking to the interviewer.
Your name will just appear on the Chiron like Justin Harris, Sam Sulek's coach.
When they would do the interviews at these national shows, George would just kind of slide in the video with the people
and just start talking like he was the coach. You're so shocked as a competitor, you don't know what to do.
I'm like, oh my god!
Send him to hate blood next.
That guy's a character. That's all. I'll leave it at that. We want to grab some questions.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought Sam looked great. I thought he was fantastic. So he definitely, that's a pretty ballsy move to go out there and put it all out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's step one. Your first show was get in shape, and he did exactly that.
Yeah.
For checking off the first box, he did what you need to get in the experience you need to get out of a first show.
With me, for clients with first show, I just want them to get on stage,
Mm-hmm.
know how to pose, and be in half decent shape, and just get over the butterflies of being backstage and stuff.
Yeah.
That's really the
exactly.
goal.
I mean, that first show, it's kind of almost like at least for me, it was like you're in a dream. You're getting tan for the first time. Like, as much as you think you know what to expect with that, until it's actually happening to you, all those things are just new. So getting that, that first show out of your system, I can't believe he coached himself to his first show. I mean, I was so impressed with how he did.
I think the big thing that most people are not prepared for is how fast everything moves backstage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's chaos.
I was I felt like I was on stage for 10 seconds. So I was like,
Yeah.
shit, that's it? Oh, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
Then there's always some dude that misses call outs because he's got his headphones on. I always tell people, do not wear headphones backstage.
Hey, you need some manager, some backstage manager there, just listening the whole time. Meanwhile, chilling down, just waiting for the time to pump up. So if you have somebody to help you out backstage that has experience, it goes a long way.
Yeah, I'll keep my guys in line. I'll make sure that they're not up pacing around and are ready. They get their glaze on when they're supposed to. Just
I was always
little
there.
Shit.
It's going to go very slow until it doesn't, and then it's going to go very fast.
I love the guys that start pumping up 2 hours before they get on stage, and they blow themselves out completely before they get up there. I'm like, bro, save that, man. You're doing your bands 2 hours before you get out there. You're not doing yourself any favors.
I don't understand the timing though. As fast as it goes, it also is kind of slow.
Yeah.
So I think people get oh my gosh, I've got to start doing this, or they see someone else doing it. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll pump now, or give me that rice cake. I think people get a little bit watching too much of what everybody else is doing and start trying to replicate it and not really understanding the time as much. especially if you're in like multiple classes, they get like too amped up for the first one and then, don't know the timing for the next couple.
You can always tell the dude that's been at a million shows because he's laying on the floor with his feet up on his bag and a towel over his head.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got for questions, Colin?
We got a few questions. Adam, what are your thoughts on growth hormone every other day versus every day if the total dose is the same? For example, 12 IUs every other night.
Last week, didn't
we answer this question every day, every week, but it's people always have the same fucking question. You might as well answer it. And
Story of my life.
You're educating someone new every time. I know it's annoying, like from our perspective sometimes, but you got to think of it from their perspective. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know. Okay, fine. But have you guys ever gotten this one before? Do you have any idea how to answer or approach this question?
I made a video on that a long time ago. Long time ago.
I think I answered this last week and the week before and the week before and the week before. So Kurt, do us a solid.
Kurt loves answering this question.
I love pH questions.
I would just give you a hard time, Adam. Guys, he's still in the chat. Okay, let's be nice.
You're fine, Adam. We're just giving
you
the dose is the same. I mean, I wouldn't worry about things like insulin sensitivity and thyroid function with this stuff. People get really hung up on these, like, I'm in the weeds with the insulin sensitivity. Unless you're fat or diabetic, it's not really a thing you got to worry about. Same with thyroid function. Thyroid function is not as impacted negatively by GH if it's used properly. It's, again, everyone's trying to misinterpret their own labs and medicate the shit out of themselves. My question would be, why would you use it every other day instead of every day? If your only reason is because you're concerned with insulin sensitivity, I would say that's a silly reason to do so. The reason why we do it medically every other day is when there's side effects experienced. That's the only other acceptable way to use it is daily or every other, and then it's removed if there's still side effects.
Kurt, I was going to ask you a follow-up on that. Guys using it multiple times a day, I've kind of backed off from that because I've noticed that glucose levels run higher when you're taking it like 3-4 times a day. It's
funny because when you learn about it in school, if you bring that up, people literally laugh at you. They're like, why the fuck would you use growth hormone multiple times a day? Do you want to become diabetic? And then it's, no, you just want to use it. Not to say, look, there's no 100% right answer for everyone, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be constantly blocking the ability to uptake glucose into a cell. You just want to inject it before bed and let it do its thing. Most of the effects are through IGF-1 anyway, and not through GH directly. And you're trying to time it. What are you timing it for if you're doing it throughout the day? It takes 4 hours to absorb. So if you inject it in the morning, when are you doing your fasted cardio? At lunchtime?
Right.
It doesn't make a whole shitload of sense. I think the problem is we've gotten ourselves in this place with the internet where everyone wants to tackle these really complicated subjects, but they don't have the base physiology to understand the question they're even asking. So it's used at night. That's how growth hormone's used. It's used subcutaneous, not IM. Peptides are not injected intramuscularly. They're injected sub-Q. So peptides degrade when they're put in a muscle. And again, if you back up and look at the physiology, a peptide receptor is not an intercellular receptor. It's a cell surface receptor. It does not go in. It has pathways that go in. So you don't inject those things into a muscle because it's a cytokine and it'll cause an immune response. And not in a good way. I would say you could use it every other day if you have side effects like numb hands. But outside of that, I wouldn't worry about things like thyroid function, like the T4 depletion that bodybuilders, I mean, Steve, you've done videos on this.
Yeah.
Like the T4 depletion that bodybuilders used to worry about, it's totally irrelevant. T4 is like the idle in your car. Adding more T4 there doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to become T3. Use labs to dictate if you need thyroid medicine or not, and actually seek out someone who understands how to read labs, because just looking at your thyroid numbers alone doesn't necessarily tell you a whole story.
I also have to look at your lipids and all the other markers.
Well, estrogen will affect thyroid function. I mean, there's so many things that affect thyroid function.
And I feel like if you're trying to mitigate some sort of side effect, then ultimately you should be looking at dosage rather than timing. You know, that the average dose daily anyways, which is 6 units for him. You know, so if you can't handle 6 units average because of some side effect, then maybe it's the dosage that needs to come down.
Or a lifestyle factor that's causing the side effect, right? Like, are you hydrated? Are you eating too much salt? Like, are your kidneys actually functioning properly? Like, these are all things that have to be looked at before you just like start up in the dose or just come up with some arbitrary dose. Because what really does 6 mean? Where is 6 even from? Right? Like, we know what effective doses are for certain things, but like 6 is kind of a made up.
you know, not to say there's no value in 6, but it's just
It's
kind
a,
of
it's a budget thing.
Yeah, that's budget. Yeah.
It's a budget thing.
Well, it's
I'm
funny.
gonna
In
run 3
the,
IUs because that's what I can afford.
yeah, it's funny in the Serostim pamphlet though. Like it says, you know, take a vial every day before bed, and if you are experiencing side effects that you are not comfortable with, take it every other day. And
And then if there's still side effects experienced, it is not the right drug for you.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Now, the only thing I disagree, they did it for simplicity's sake. The only thing I disagree with the Serostim packaging is there's no ramp up period, which would make a little more sense,
Yeah.
right? Because if you took a normal person and that weighs 140 pounds or more and you gave them 6 milligrams of GH right off the bat, of course they're going to get side effects.
Yeah.
It's probably why that's why so much
great.
person probably ends up on the street, because every single person with HIV gets fucking numb hands and they're like, I don't want this shit anymore.
Yeah. I thought it
And
was
then
awesome.
sell it to bodybuilders. So maybe that's the whole point behind it. I got all the side effects. I'll just sell it to Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
He'll buy it.
It was crazy, man. I took that first vial. I was like, woke up the next morning. I was like, what the fuck? This is awesome.
Am I still sleeping? This is a dream?
Right. What is going on? Holy shit. Yeah, it was crazy, man.
I dropped it because I was getting my glucose levels back under control. I just kind of so I haven't used GH in 3 or 4 weeks.
But you stopped Lantus too, didn't you?
What's that?
You stopped Lantus too, didn't you?
Yeah, I was like a dumbass. I stopped taking Lantus even though I have pancreatic insufficiency. That was not smart, but I went back on it. But it's funny, like now that I'm not taking the GH, I was taking a nap every afternoon. I don't take a nap anymore at all. And I'm sleeping less. I'm sleeping like 5-6 hours a night now instead of 8.
I was sleeping 9 hours when I did like 10, 20 IUs.
Yeah, that's partly why I don't really even like to use it much if I'm not like training for something. The difference in lethargy is really pronounced for me.
Yeah.
Without it, I don't need to sleep. It feels like something's wrong.
Yeah, I usually can function on 5 or 6 hours of sleep without it, but
No, it's funny if you go to every other day or like 4 or 5 administrations per week, you get no of the numbness in your hands or the water retention that goes away, but the sleepiness is still there.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a downside. And then, well, you can take some modafinil or nootropics to kind of keep you going, but at one point you're just non-functional basically. So I stopped it 2 months ago, and I might reintroduce it at one point. But
I actually
when the modafinil don't
used
work
it in a while.
yeah,
Modafinil.
that's when you
doesn't
know
work.
trouble.
I'm 20 IUs of growth now.
Yeah.
Fall asleep.
I do think that, you know, dosage is still important too. Don't overlook that part just because, you know, like Jackie don't mind me mentioning, but for example, she had to back down her dosage of GH because we tried every facet for trying to eliminate numbness and the fiery hands. We tried everything, every kind of pre-workout, post-workout, morning, night, everything at night. Ended up just being until we pulled the dose down a little bit lower, did she get relief.
I don't get numb hands or water retention at all.
Me neither. I never had the hand thing from it.
I'll get it every once in a while randomly, but it's like it's only when I go to bed at night. But if I put like a pillow under my arm to like prop it up, then it's fine. So yeah, I don't know.
That is a smart one.
The growth hormone, like all hormones, is sexually dimorphic. So the advice that I was given was for men. Women are a different scenario. They're going to react totally different to GH.
And their aldosterone levels are different because their estrogen levels are way higher.
And like our biggest peaks at night, theirs is not. It's just their body is totally different with IGF, everything.
Yeah. Your book, Kurt, about the GH is really, really, really good.
Good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
People should read that so they don't have to ask questions like this.
Yeah, it covers everything. Like
I think I should
super
put another
impressed.
chapter in it with how to use. When we wrote it, my wife was really concerned with me giving advice on how to use drugs.
Yeah.
Like she was like, well, I wouldn't put the doses or how to inject it because God forbid someone gets hurt and then they're going to come around. Well, your book told me to do it this way, and but I think I should write one with more practical use at the end.
This guy really wants a response from you, Kurt. He gave us $50.
Oh my god, $50, Kurt. He's coming at me.
I got to answer his question.
It's like a mini consult.
All right, NC Francois, Kurt, it's been 2 months with no response to my email. Quote, Aromasin is only going to suppress estradiol 35% in men. Quote, he claims those are your exact words, does not cite his source. I sent several blood works with greater than 35% E2 suppression from Pfizer, Aromasin at various doses. Any comments? Kurt.
Sure. You emailed me your labs. I'm not just looking at random people's labs in my emails.
I
Reasonable.
don't think people realize how
I
many
don't have
like,
any
inquiries
I at least
and
read
DMs.
I've
And,
never seen an email from this guy in my life.
well, that's what I don't think
Brokey,
people
you look at my
realize.
lab?
I probably had
No.
20 DMs on my Instagram
I don't
this
respond.
morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't respond to any DMs on Instagram anymore. I don't get
But
hundreds
yeah,
of it.
people, if your email is on your website, I don't think people realize there's 340 million people in America, and a lot of people lift weights, and a lot of people stumble on your stuff. You get so much. I mean, it's and then some go to spam. It's. I don't think people have any idea. They think they're the only person who's ever contacted you. But
Yep.
it's even. I'll even try to respond, especially if it's something like if someone's asking about coaching or something. Did they just come in so? You got
Tommy
Twitter,
Jogger.
Threads, Instagram,
Oh,
Facebook,
Tommy, that made me
PayPal.
laugh.
So I'm gonna back up because I think this is another problem with the internet is that everyone wants. I'll find a source for this guy in a second. I think the problem is everyone wants these things like these sources, these citations for stuff that they probably couldn't understand anyway, or they don't have access to. So I'm going to send you a study that you can only read the abstract. What is the point?
Yeah,
And second of all,
well, that's the thing. That's like when people link studies, and it's like I don't have a university email address. Usually, I can read. I'm reading 3 words in the abstract from the link you sent me.
let's back up even further though. So in education circles, like if I'm standing over the table in the OR and a surgeon is teaching me something, do you think I stop him and say, "Do you have a citation on that?" What do you think?
On the
would happen?
internet, they
You
need
get
it.
the
So
fuck out
they
of
need
the
a
OR.
citation.
That you don't ask. There's hierarchies with everything, and certain things you just don't ask for things, if that makes any sense.
Well, they need the citation, but they don't read the citation. There was a period of time about a decade ago where when people would argue on the internet and they would say something about a research study, or I would post something that had nothing to do because I knew no one is going to read it. I would make a statement, then slap a link onto it, and everyone went, "Oh, there it is. That's the cold hard truth." Because the research I posted had nothing. Because people don't read the research.
He's coming with receipts, Kurt.
So stupid.
So you
Yes.
just spent $60.
The source of the
So
quote is a
stupid.
Q&A
Nice
with
work.
Aaron. Kurt says he's never seen an email from me in his life, but we've had several email interactions and a phone call. His phone bill will not lie.
Kurt, your boyfriend is mad. He's
Yeah,
very
what did-
mad.
What did you do?
Yeah, what happened?
You heard him.
I think the important thing though to remember with it doesn't
Stop
matter what
ignoring me.
study you cite, it still is a study that is going to be inherently flawed and based on averages of the study. It's not a one-to-one. Like you could never take a study and be like, well, this was the result of the study, so this 100% applies to me in this exact same situation, because it won't. People are bio-individual, and that's why medications and responses to drugs
Exactly.
vary. That's why not every medication works for every person. If it did, there would be one. Look at how many variations of even things like blood pressure medication are on the market, or thyroid medication. Having hypothyroid, like the way I respond to a thyroid medication is vastly different than someone else, and subtle changes will drastically affect me where they might not affect somebody else. And that doesn't mean that the data is wrong. It just means that there is no one answer to every single drug problem.
Okay,
Studies
so
show men are
I guess
taller than women.
I did a call with this guy at one point. It looks like
Usually,
at 3:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, June 3rd, 2024.
June.
Tommy.
yeah, I kind of get it from their
The citation for his study is Pharmacokinetics and Dose Findings of Potent Aromatase Inhibitor, Aromasin, Extramine in Young Males. It was published December 1st, 2003. Paul, you want me to send you a link to it?
I've read that's a real page turner. Actually, I've read that one.
Yeah.
It's fascinating stuff.
Well, I think I think it should be discussed when people what people don't realize is everyone's kind of wrapped up in their own head. Like if I'm a fan of basketball and I reach out to an NBA player, that I remember that. If it was 2021, it's not like they don't remember it or try not to remember it, but they're interacting with so many people. When we'll be at the Arnold, we're there at the Arnold. we're going to see thousands of people. They'll see thousands of people also, but it's a different kind of setup where we're seeing, a sea of people that we don't know, and they know you, and they remember those things. And, because I always stress about that, because I'm not like a very good social person. And so, so I'm going to come up and they'll start talking to me, and I met them in 2007 at the USA's or something, and they remember because maybe they read something I wrote. So there's a reason for them to remember, and I feel bad. I'll want to remember. And maybe if they say something that triggers a memory, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember now. But it's a different, it's a different setup because they know you, they listen to your stuff. You're meeting a person after person after person after person, for 4 days there. I always stress about that because I don't want to come across as a dick. I'd like to remember everyone I talk to, but
same.
It's like if I went to an NFL training camp, those guys aren't going to remember me. I'll remember them because I might be a fan of them.
Yeah. I mean, how many people do we talk on a yearly basis through consultations, through coaching,
I looked
through
at my
DMs? I mean, it's thousands.
I looked at my Calendly for my consults last year. I did almost 500 consults last year.
Wow.
And then, at any point in time, I'm coaching 100 clients. I had I gotta be careful what I say, but I had a guy get mad at me this week because he hadn't checked in like a month, and I didn't poke him. He was upset. I'm like, bro, you know how many people I talked to? I don't have time to go through and track everybody down that doesn't get it for the check-in. Does your gym call you when you don't show up for a workout?
Yeah. That's not your job. That's not your job.
Paul, I sent you
the
the study if you want to link it down below so he can see it.
Sure. I'll put it in the.
It's like nah.
Nah. So to come back on the citations, right? So all of my videos are fully cited, just as a pissing contest, and I don't think anybody reads them.
Well, and the problem for human beings would be
I don't think anybody reads them.
So this is from the United States Endocrine Society. Unless he has credentials to log into the United States Endocrine Society, he can only read the abstract anyway. Yeah. And unfortunately, I'm not giving my credentials out to people on the internet. So
there it is. It's in the chat.
And then
the entire truth of research isn't in the abstract?
Yeah.
And I mean, you can find studies up until 2021 on Science Hub. So I usually directly link it there. But then everything after that you can't find. And then I ask Kurt or Dean to find it for me. And then many of them are behind the paywall. I'm not going to pay $70 for a study that might not have anything relevant behind it, just so I could put it in a video. So you miss out on a lot.
That's another thing that drives me nuts with people in studies. I was a data analyst.
You can, just so everyone knows, if they actually are interested, if you find a study and you don't have credentials, almost every professor will give you the link if you reach out to them. If they see your email, they will, and I've done that a couple times where there's something you really want to read and it's like a $49 paywall. And you're like, come on, for one study. That the professor's email address is almost always with the paper. If you email them and they see it, they'll send it. They want people to read their stuff.
Yeah. Justin, you're a math guy. I mean, this is the thing that drives me nuts with studies. I was a data analytics major in college, and I'm like, how the fuck could anybody interpret any of the data on them without taking a college level statistics class?
Well, you can't. People are so. It's kind of like a joke of mine, or not a joke, but I always talk about it. People misread graphs and data all the time. Yep. People don't understand percentages. I can scale any graph, and I did that as a reliability engineer. You need something to pass reliability. You take a ugly looking graph, rescale it, reset the boundary conditions, and boom, it's a nice, beautiful graph. Because people just aren't used to doing it. The people are not used to percentages. A 10% increase on something of a very low dose is a 10% increase of a very large, same thing with a large dose, but the actual milligram difference is enormous, and people just don't, there's so many, so many things people think about that, or you can't just add percentages up like you would adding numbers up. You can't, is it a logarithmic graph, so it's misinterpreted so much. And if you do research, I shouldn't say, because the only research I've really done was in math and physics, but if I remember correctly, I think most PhD programs require some type of statistics class. I know there's biostatistics in the medical field.
And 2/3 of the bros I work with can't even add up fucking macros. They're not compelled.
Yeah.
I keep telling
I've
you,
used
have to go through and
ChatGPT.
tell them how to calculate macros.
I've definitely will admit I've used ChatGPT and copied and pasted and had it help simplify certain studies for me.
Yeah, I've done
For
that as
sure.
well. Perplexity is also good, especially for scientific evidence. You
Mhm.
can find like 50 papers and review them.
ChatGPT actually has a research GPT now where you can go in and it'll grab stuff. It's pretty good.
I asked it why kids can see why Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I fucked it up. Never mind. Sorry, I fucked my joke up, y'all. It's never happened on this podcast before. Son of a bitch.
Amy, you got a fan. 6'5'8". Amy looks
thank
beautiful
you.
there in the middle of all you big guys.
I
It's
mean,
the
it's
Brady
perfect.
Bunch.
Like it's like yes, exactly. Like to have
You
like
could
I
make
should
a
be
movie out of
well.
that.
Do you guys remember? I don't know what. Maybe this is because you got the Brady Bunch thing set up. There was something on is the Grammys or SNL or something, and they did something like that with all the people. And Usher thought for sure he would be the center one, and so while he's singing the song, he's looking up, but he ended up being like the bottom corner, and so he thought he was in the center, and he's like trying to look at all the
It looks
people.
like he's doing his best Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, but he's just looking to the side of nothing.
Joshua,
All right.
that's inappropriate, Joshua.
And Joshua's always inappropriate. I love it.
This guy's hilarious.
Yeah, he's so funny.
This guy's so funny, dude. And he knows all the 80s and 90s jokes. So whenever I drop like some one-liner, this guy knows exactly where it comes from.
Josh is my favorite troll. I remember when I first started streaming, I'm like, is this guy a jerk? I'm not sure yet. And then he was my kind of jerk, the funny one.
This guy's
I like
ever
clever
meet him, I'm
jokes.
gonna buy him a couple beers because he makes me fucking laugh every
Yeah, I know,
live stream
man.
he's there.
I'd love to meet you sometime, Josh. I
Yeah.
think we'd have fun. You got another question here, Colin?
We got a lot of questions today.
I got to wrap up in like 10 minutes. Speaking of consult calls, I got 3 of them this afternoon.
Okay. All right, we'll get a couple more in then. Let's see here. One for Amy. Shane, Amy, can you talk at all about microscopic colitis, how to optimize bulking with this autoimmune disease?
Well, that is a big question. Actually, Dave would probably have some great insights on that as well, because he had a bout of colitis on his prep. For me, I mean, the first thing I go to with colitis is just understanding your triggers and making sure that you are making your digestion is really on point, but that you're also like kind of really nourishing that intestinal wall. So things that can be helpful, like slippery elm bark or things that'll really marshmallow root, things that are going to help kind of embrace that mucous membrane. I wouldn't make a lot of changes. Well, you're on a bulk, so that's different. So on a cut, I would try not to change a lot of things, but on a bulk, you can kind of play around with seeing like really how your body handles some of these other additive substances and some digestive aids to help. But avoiding triggers and avoiding things that are really going to set you off. I'm like, Dave, what do you know what set off your colitis on prep? Like if you go back and look at it?
I didn't realize I had a diverticulitis issue until kind of after it had passed. I thought it was something totally different, but knowing that it was a GI issue with me, or basically I just kind of went nuclear with digestive aids, extra glutamine, just anything I could do to kind of ease my stomach. Different kind of GI aids from like Revive. I used one product. So I didn't really know until after the fact. I kind of figured out that it was a flare-up of diverticulitis till later on. So now I really don't. I kind of did more research after the fact, after I got my ass whooped, than during the fact.
Running a stool test would be a place where I would start too. I know I'm always trying to get you guys to give me your poop, but you won't. That's going to help you, see if you have any like managing that microbiome and seeing how it changes throughout, a few phases too is going to be really helpful, especially as you do like go through phases of bulking and cutting, because the bacteria in your gut are going to vary based on what you're eating. So they're going to be a little bit different when you're bulking than when you're cutting. So making sure that you're, managing the commensal bacteria appropriately and not letting anything get out of hand is going to be really key as well. And, those are easy little tweaks to make, but for me, the biggest thing, and that's why I said it first off, like knowing what your triggers are, you can't change what you don't track. So as much as it's really annoying, but especially if you deal with an autoimmune condition, it's so important that you understand the things that flare you, and then you can manage them, because letting it get out of hand, especially on a bulk, could really set you back, because it could just, I mean, if your digestion's like trashed, you're going to be wasting your bulk time. So making sure that you kind of get all that in line and then track it throughout so that you know what changes you might need to make throughout bulking and cutting would be where I'd start.
Yeah. I had stress pretty high because I was on prep too. So I know that wasn't helping. I was right in between two
The
shows.
stress. Yeah, the
Yep.
stress could have been a big part of that trigger. Yeah.
Yep.
Are you saying that Frank's Red Hot and white monsters aren't great for digestion and prep?
I mean, if your gut can handle them, like,
Well, they make everything run right through me.
yeah.
This shit like a super stoker shot.
Oh,
I'm gonna see if I can get this picture of John up that you sent, Justin. Let me see. This thing is always weird.
I apologize in advance. We're certainly not going to get to all the questions today, guys. I apologize.
We usually do. We
It
usually
doesn't
do.
let me pull up text stuff. This is so weird.
John,
post
when
it
are,
in chat, and then you can.
when are you getting into
I'll let John
Ohio,
come.
John?
What was that?
I said, when are you getting into Ohio?
Like early Tuesday morning.
So I get in Wednesday morning. Oh, no, yeah, Tuesday morning. Yeah, because I get in Tuesday morning also. I never know what day it is. I work 7 days a week. I don't leave the house. Every day is the same.
It's good to see I'm not the only one, Justin.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I work 7 days a week too, and it's funny because like people ask me what I'm doing on the weekend. I'm like, it's just another fucking day.
I
man.
don't even know it's the weekend until it's
Every
too late
day's
to
the
enjoy it.
weekend.
Yeah.
that's why every day's the week. No, but that's why once in a while you just got to go to a nice hotel and unwind. So that's what we do once a month. We just vacate somewhere else and then chill out, not do anything.
There's John.
Ooh, wow.
Sick.
Yeah, looking sick, John.
That's
Good
nuts,
Lord,
John.
dude.
Looking
That was so that was like 3 days after the last show, so I was holding a little bit of water. But it was just like did a little workout. I was like, hey, my buddy had his camera. I'm like, let's see if I look okay right now. So I would say the way that we looked at the show a week and a half ago, we're gonna look like a completely new person. I mean, we're coming for that pro card. Like, it is what it is.
Fuck yeah, man.
That is a
Oh, yeah.
lower
pretty
back that was
undeniable.
Yeah.
built by big deadlifts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, too many of those.
Yeah, John
Never
what
enough.
texted me one time. He's like, "Yeah, I'm putting deadlifts back. I'm not doing anything crazy. Just like 500-pound stiff legs. I'm like, yeah, I
Make it
just keep
crazy,
it light
though.
too. Sets of 10. John's an former all-time world record holder power lifter. So to him, 500 pounds is baby weight. It just cracks me up when he.
He was 3 weeks out, and I was like, I'm gonna do 500 for sets of 10. This feels good, stiff leg. So
You don't see many powerlifters that make a really successful transition over to bodybuilding. It doesn't happen
No.
that often.
No, well,
Joe-
partly because what's that?
Joe Sullivan is looking.
Sullivan,
pretty
yeah,
good,
he looks
Yeah.
pretty good right now.
Yeah,
Well, I
he
think
looks good, man.
part of it is the powerlifting culture, and it's not as bad with the raw, with the geared and the triple ply. It almost became not anti-bodybuilding, but you were proud if you blew out your waist, if you had a hernia. Guys were like almost wanted to tear their bicep. What's the point of having a bicep? You don't need biceps to deadlift. And so so the people who become really good powerlifters kind of do all those things, which makes it impossible to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I think most of the guys, it seems like, just blow out their waist. That's the big thing I see.
yeah, it's definitely a structure thing. I mean, most of the time you have wide set hips and things like that. You're gonna be a pretty good powerlifter. You got a pretty strong base, and not necessarily going to translate over to bodybuilding, but definitely, you have to be thankful sometimes, because certain things that, we work really hard and stuff like that, but some things are out of your hands, and if you get dealt a decent hand, you have to be thankful for that as well.
Absolutely. For someone like you who went from the powerlifting to the bodybuilding successfly, and you have great physique and form, I feel like you also have achieved a level of muscle density that others just simply can't with all of the powerlifting that you did. Is that something you might agree with, or am I off base?
Yeah. It's just like
you just look like you've got more density than
you know, when I stand next to the guys on stage, you know, it's like there's like a difference of like the detail, but like the depth and the separation of the muscle.
Absolutely.
I think
quality you can only.
Hollingshead, I think you see it in heavy lifting bodybuilders. There's kind of it's not always a better look. I wouldn't say it's automatically a better look, but I think there is a look to it.
Yeah,
usually more dominating.
I like
it
that
looks
look.
like it's higher quality. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it too.
Yeah,
It
I would
looks
say
like
like
it's not just only for cosmetics, but it actually looks like it could lift something. You know,
Yeah.
you want that guy to help you move your.
That's right. That's right. He can put the team on his back. Right?
Yeah, he's not going to tire out anytime soon.
Dr. Gator's asking what your training split is, John. What do you?
my training split, it's pretty broy. You know, it's pretty broy, but I would say that the one thing I switched, which helped a lot, was to lower volume with lower body and increase intensity. So I would say more frequency, but less volume. So me and Justin had a talk, and we're like, man, let's go back. I was squatting 8-10 for reps in knee wraps by the time I was 25. And, you know, I weighed like 220 or something. And I was like, let me go back to what my body likes. And, you know, we did that. I was squatting pretty much every 3 days for the last 9 months.
I wouldn't normally recommend it. You know, like John's a perfect example. You got to play to your strengths, and not everything's not cookie cutter. Because for most people who are trying to bring up their legs, I would almost argue squats are not optimal. But he's so efficient, and so much of his life was built around it. You know, and then as far from a mental aspect, it's, you know, when you come from that powerlifting background, it's easy to get motivated for a big squat session, not so much for, you know, hack squats and Bulgarian split squats.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was like I would do 1 or 2 heavy sets of squats, whether it was 500 for 10 or whatever it would be, and then I would do like 1 or 2 heavy sets of hacks, like 10 plates or something, for like as many as I could do, and then would be like 1 or 2 sets full, like Dorian Yates style intensity of extensions, and then hamstrings as well. And I would just repeat that like every 3 days. And it was sort of basic, but it was a little bit based off of some of Jordan Peters as well, over in the UK. And that seems to work well. Now, like my back and other stuff like that is more of like a bro split. I really nail it, just destroy it once a week, and it seems to be okay.
Yeah. If you didn't have the high frequency, I'd imagine that wouldn't be as effective. You know, being able to do that frequency for that period of time helps.
A casual 500 pounds for 10 reps on squats, you know, a couple weeks out from a show.
As a warm up.
I mean, it's heavy.
Or a heavy hack.
But it's usually the guys that go really far that end up doing that. You know, like most of the pros that are really dense, they just do the heavy stuff all the way to the end. That seems to separate, the good guys from everybody else.
As long
I'm
as
definitely not one of the good guys then.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
you're right. You look at guys that like Akim, right? Lifts heavy all the time, and he just looks fresh and looks.
Yeah, man. I wish that guy had thinner skin or something, because if you like the couple of times I've seen him in person, he's so impressive, and he's so in shape. But I don't know if it's just skin thickness or darkness, but on stage it's like it doesn't get shown. I feel bad for him because he's incredibly impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I love his front double bicep. It's so pretty and full and big. Perfect.
All right, we want to get one more question in. We'll
You
call
see
it
that
quits.
photo he posted recently of his bicep? It looked like literally looked like a human dissection class. Like there's not even any skin over it.
Team.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh
see if I
man.
can find it.
It's got wild arms.
Was he in a t-shirt?
I don't even remember. I couldn't take my eyes off his bicep. He could have been naked. I know.
holy moly.
Let me see if I could find.
Yeah, you don't see him get sloppy at all. He's always pretty relatively lean off
Jesus
season.
Christ,
And
that dude's huge.
He's got a small waist for heavy he lifts too.
yeah.
I don't think this is the pick, but it's still fucking impressive.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's insane.
Look at that.
Holy cow.
So symmetrical.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at that, look
All
at
is
that bicep
team.
peak.
Those are cool.
It's wild. It's not fair.
Not fair. Good Lord.
Yeah,
Those
see,
are-
like, I mean,
holy
he's
cow.
he's in shape, but something will happen on stage, and you'll be able to tell he's in shape. It's like the stage lights just reflect off him really poorly
Yeah.
somehow.
Like,
Yeah.
his back is
Yeah.
crazy, and he's not even
Yeah, it's like
posing
a
it
Belgian blue
correctly.
bowl.
Wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at his ass. His ass is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Crazy.
spot-
Wild.
He's got that Ronnie butt.
Yeah,
Fire club.
Texas Ronnie, but
Yeah, he is a
That's
big
wild.
dude.
As a,
Yeah.
He looks short. Is he short?
I think he's 5'10", 5'11", isn't he?
Oh, okay.
I don't think he's that tall.
Yeah, he's like my
So-
height.
that's not that
Yeah, I
short.
saw him in Toronto. He was like maybe 5'8", 5'9".
Oh, for real? Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm 5'10", 5'11", and I look down
Nasty.
on him. I'm not down on him,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, like his little, like, he just has a strength to weight ratio of a toddler. I mean, look at those, like, he's got compact arms.
Look at the cuts in the side of his quads.
crazy.
Holy
yeah, yeah. I mean,
That's
he's
that density.
in shape, but it's like his skin is thick, or something happens with the stage lights.
Yeah, or maybe he doesn't respond well to the pro tan on the day of the show.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
happen with athletes as well. They get spray tan, then they go
Yeah.
out, and it completely washes them out. I always told
Oh
my
man, that's
athletes
the worst. If you
never
have a
to do
client,
that.
if you have a client like that and you're not prepared for it, and they go and get their first tan, and they send their next set of pics, and some people, it's like it looks like they're wearing, like they put on a coat, like
Yeah,
a
with a mud,
clothing coat.
wrestling, it's worse than dream tan. So I always told my clients, you do the base coat when you start carving up, and then you can do the top coat the day before, and then you let it absorb. You don't shower because it just detracts so much. That spray tan, I hate it.
Yeah,
It detracts so much. It just puts a film of water on you.
yeah. It's like wearing a latex suit.
Yeah, so if you do it the day before, sure, you let it absorb. You don't shower the next day. You go out on stage with a couple touch-ups. But I think a lot of people just do the spray tan the day of the show and then walk out. It's a big mistake.
When we were at the Arnold last year, Jackie and I and all of us were posing at the pros gym in the posing room downstairs, and Akim's on the stairs right behind us. So Jackie's filming me for our YouTube channel, and he's just looking at me like so tired and so not impressed. He's like looking at me like, "Get this fat guy out of my way."
you,
Pose. He's like one day out.
you fatty, get out of the way.
That's so
All right,
I'm
guys.
sure,
I
I'm
gotta-
sure he wasn't like he wasn't mad, but sometimes you get, I know for me personally, nothing. I never really feel anything until that H word comes in the last like 2 or 3 weeks, and you take a little bit of halo, and it's like you don't even get. It's just like your fuse just gets so short,
Yeah.
and you just want to be alone type thing. So
Yeah.
It's that resting prep face. That's what it is.
Sun-
Can't help it.
Sunglasses and headphones.
yeah.
Believe me, I
Leave
know
me
about the
alone.
resting prep face, Colin. They had that girl report me to the manager at the gym for having a death stare.
Can't even help it.
I was
You're
looking at you.
staring.
I was looking at nothing.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
came over and confronted me and said I would look like a psychopath. And I'm
To be
like, I
fair,
haven't
like
had-
she was looking for a problem, but at the same time, it's not the first, second, or third time that's happened to Paul. So he just has this like resting. He looks like what was it? Private Pile from Full Metal Jacket. You know, just like, like,
Go for Pile.
like, you all right there, man? Like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about puppies. Why? I got
Disassociate,
one,
man, in the gym.
one quick
Well, you're-
question before we sign off. Has anybody read any good books lately?
What?
Oh, I just ordered one on Amazon. It's going to be here on Tuesday.
I mean,
What?
I know I have.
written by this guy right here.
I laughed. I cried. I fell in love. I wrote a
Very
book,
nice.
y'all. If you want to
Let's
support
see.
your boy,
Hold it closer.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Okay.
Instagram.
Put it closer.
Bach
that up on the camera,
Uncircumcised. You
Colin.
can
Let's
find-
see it.
Oh, you can't see
Zoom
it.
it in.
Find the
There it
link
is.
on Instagram.
There we go.
Nice.
Oh, holy shit.
You can find it on Amazon. You can read it in a night if you like. It's like my ode to the pulpy sci-fi I grew up reading, like from the
Oh,
50s.
sci-fi?
Yeah, it's like a post-apocalyptic, like
Fuck
there's
yeah,
some
man, I'll buy it
sci-fi
right
in there,
away.
some survival.
Hey, I'll lock in those movie rights as early as you can.
Yeah. No, it's some lucky ducks were able to snag a a copy that I hadn't finished editing, nor had I formatted because I was too impatient and excited, and I published sooner than I should have. So yeah, when Hollywood gets their grubby little hands on this, those will probably become collector's items. So
Okay. I'm excited. It's gonna be my plane read. That's why I'm reading on the plane to Ohio.
That's awesome, dude.
Anyway,
Cool, nice work.
I would, that was just I just wanted to ask if anybody had read any good books lately. I didn't want to.
No, but I
didn't want to get off track or anything.
Out of here for me inside.
I'm gonna get my signed copy this weekend.
That's right. I'll sign your tit. I mean your pectoral.
Pectoral muscle. All right, folks, that's all we got for you today. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for your support. And Anthony is going to be buying.
Only in podcast.
So lady went
It's
for
a
it,
celebration.
Yeah,
the book is on Amazon, dude. Yeah.
All right. Take care, guys.
I want to thank Anzi for buying Kurt a steak dinner, a nice steak dinner at the Arnold.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. We'll see you next